Hello, and welcome to the Wonders I've Seen, where there's no such thing as weird or normal, there's just different. I'm your host, Tanagra, and today we'll be discussing the happiest season. I was going to say lesbian Christmas films, but I realized that, this is literally the only one. So, grab your liquid nourishment, sit back, and enjoy the wonders.
I have never desired your good opinion.
People fear what they do not understand.
I have a headache, a badge, and a gun.
Power is yours.
Behave.
I was just trying to start a conversation.
And share the wonders I've seen.
My liquid nourishment for the day is hot chocolate with just a touch of mocha. Let's get into it. The Happiest Season. Directed, story by, and screenplay written by Clea Duvall, known, well, I guess she was she was a lesbian icon before she actually came out of the closet. The first time she actually even talked about being lesbian publicly being 4 years ago. She's done a lot of interviews about it. She has been sitting with this film, ironically, since she first spoke about being lesbian publicly. So, this film is the story of Abby and Harper, their girlfriends, very much in love. And on a whim, after going on a very sweet Christmas light tour, Harper, caught up in the moment and happy and in love, and invites Abby home with her to see her parents. Oh, yeah, this entire thing is going to be, episode is going to be spoilers, so stop now if you don't want to be spoiled. Or do, because I don't really think any of the Happiest Season surprises are good ones. So keep listening if you want to. So, anyway, Harper invites Abby home. Abby's like, yeah, I love it, I'm so excited. And then we see Abby going shopping for a ring with her friend John, played by Daniel Levy. And she's planning on proposing. So right away, we have girlfriends, very much in love, very happy, very cute, living together, committed relationship, planning on getting married. And now, Harper invited her to meet the family, and Abby is like, woohoo, yes, everything is going the way I wanted it to. We're on the same page. Well, while they're driving to meet Harper's family, she tells Abby that she's not only do her parents not know that Abby is her girlfriend, they also don't know that Harper is gay, and they also don't know that Abby is gay, because that would be, too much for them, or it could throw suspicion onto Harper. Abby is like, okay, look, that's fine, I understand it, but I don't think I should go. And Harper's like, no, just, come and, be there as my roommate. And also, by the way, you can't tell them that you're gay either. And so, yeah, that's where the shenanigans start. And I say it sarcastically because every single article that I read about this film before it came out, all of the talk about it, a lot of the promotions for were about the hilarity of the film, how the holiday, ruckus and jokes. And honestly, I don't know what fucking film they were watching. Maybe they just saw Dan Levy, doing his monologues as usually sort of dry, witty takes on things, and they thought, ha ha ha, this will all be funny, and then they fucking stopped watching the movie, because nothing about this film is a lighthearted romp. It is some bullshit. I did not read any sort of reviews about this film before I watched it. I just read those usual a lesbian, when I say I read articles, it was just a lesbian Christmas romance is coming. Yay, it's going to upset the status quo. Yay. And honestly, it didn't do any of that shit. So while while Abby is willing to pretend to be straight and then also pretend that she and Harper are not a couple because she really loves Harper and she's trying to give Harper her time to come out, Harper sort of reveals to Abby that she has this whole different side when she's home. So it comes up that there are parts of Harper's past, like specifically an event where she was really sick, and she's told Abby the story, but she never mentions that it was her with her ex-boyfriend in this cabin the entire time. Now, this would be fine, like whatever, who cares? Like these are women in their 20s, they're graduated college, they're out working professional women. Like who cares about a high school boyfriend? Except for the fact that this story happened on a family trip that the boyfriend was invited to. She never mentioned that he was there when she's telling Abby the story. And then on top of it, this is also a boyfriend who the family, aka her parents, stay in touch with and invite still to family events when she's home. And yet she never tells her committed live-in girlfriend about him. Like, in all honesty, for me, like, if I could have forgiven the whole, okay, we're going to lie about being together, your parents don't know, I can give you time, but there's no reason to lie about your freaking exes when, like, I am your actual girlfriend. So that was, like, mad suspect. Like, oh, you're, like, not only are you out, that's fine, but you're also forcing me into the closet. But then also just in our own life where you are out, where you are actually, like, supposed to be quote-unquote happy in your true self, you're still keeping stuff from me. And, like, don't get it twisted. The story never, the movie never suggests that it's like Harper has some like latent feelings for this guy, but more sort of that he represents who she thinks she should be. And he represents like this heteronormativity that she's not willing to give up the appearance of, because in giving up that appearance, then she would give up, in some ways, it seems like part of herself, and whether that part of herself is a part of herself that's quote unquote normal, which, you know, we don't believe in that shit here, or it's a part of herself that she thinks her parents would love. You're sort of not certain if it's either or both, which is actually what it really seems to be. So you go through this entire film watching Harper basically be an asshole to Abby. Like, she doesn't tell her about this trip with the boyfriend when they were young, and you're like, okay, fine, seems really odd, seems really suspicious, but okay, I'll leave it. I mean, I wouldn't, but you know, you allow it because they're so in love. Then her dad, Harper's dad, played by Victor Garber, one of the few actually out and proud gay actors in this film. He's running for mayor. And so every time there's events all throughout the 5 days that Abby and Harper are supposed to be visiting her family. Every time they go to one of these events, Harper, as the favorite of the three daughters, is sort of corralled by her father into helping him with his campaign. And like, this isn't something that she doesn't want to do. It's something that she actively wants to do. And there's conversations about like, oh, Dad, did you see this article, et cetera, et cetera. You get this feeling that they've been talking about all these plans for all these Christmas events that they're going to have to help his campaign beforehand. But she still invited Abby. And even though Abby is there, Harper still goes to all these events, and she takes Abby with her and then just leaves her. Now, something that my friend sort of brought up to me was pointing out that like that in itself is really, really upsetting. And Kristen Stewart does a really good job of showing that like emotional and physical discomfort of being in spaces that like you're just sort of left in, and you're sort of supposed to make work for you because some random person that you know is there, and that's supposed to make you magically comfortable amongst a room of strangers. So that's just a shitty thing to do to a person anyway. And you watch it happen over and over and over again in this film, like several times. And you're like, okay, why? And like, I get it. Harper is trying to show that she's straight, but there's no reason to abandon Abby, even if she is just a friend at these events. There is no reason to flirt with your high school ex in front of your current girlfriend, whether or not the rest of the public knows, at events, just for what? To appease who? There's no reason to like there's so many things about this film that upset me. I could sit here and list them out. I feel it would actually just be faster for me to like make you watch the movie because that's how upset I was after I finished this. Like, Harper is not only a shitty girlfriend, but she's also just a shitty friend, right? Like, you can respect that somebody has to go through their own process of coming out, and Abby does that. You can respect that somebody might be afraid to tell their parents or having trouble with that, and Abby understands that. But Harper just constantly does shit that shows that she doesn't even really consider Abby's feelings. And I think that's the reason why so much of the queer, lesbian, or just in general LGBTQIA community had so many problems with this, and why there were so many people talking about why it was triggering. The triggering isn't so much the ending of it or that Harper needed to take time to become comfortable and needed her own journey to coming out and being accepted and loving herself and believing that others will eventually too, or not. Fuck them, who cares? That's not the triggering part of it. The triggering part is the fact that the person that she trusts and that Abby trusts, that Abby wants to spend her life with, is not only forcing her back in the closet, but then also just treating her like shit in this horrible sort of gaslighting way when they're around all these other people, when Abby needs that support. Then on top of it, it ends with this very violent outing scene of Harper by her sister. And you're just like, why am I watching this film? Like, what am I supposed to be getting out of it? What happy lesbian Christmas feels am I supposed to be finding in a story that's a shitty friend, a shitty girlfriend, and then culminates with a violent outing? Like, by a sister who, yeah, they don't have their best relationship, but they have an understanding and they're competitive, but being competitive and being abusive are not the same thing, and nor should they be conflated. So Clea Duvall, hearing about people being so upset about it, one, she was happy people were talking about it because of course she was, artist and attention. But also she said, it's understanding that sometimes you have to go low so you can figure out your way back up. I understand the impulse to just cut and run. This is her talking about Abby wanting to break up with Harper after Harper denies that she's gay again in front of everybody. She says, and I understand the impulse to just cut and run and be like, to hell with this. But I also really believe that people can get better, people can grow, and people can change. They can recognize that maybe their behavior is not as good as they know it can be, and that they make a conscious effort to change it. So the problem with this is that we as the audience never see Harper changing, and we never see her grow. I truly appreciate the fact that Clea Duvall wanted to give lesbians the HEA, the happy ending that we really don't ever get to see. But the thing is that it's not believable. And in all honesty, it's not actually what you want. Like, you don't want Abby and Harper together. And not because you want Abby with the ridiculously attractive Riley, played by Aubrey Plaza, who Kristen Stewart and Aubrey Plaza have wonderful chemistry, and I would watch them in anything. But it's not because you want Abby with Riley. It's because you don't want Abby with Harper. Like, Clea Duvall went on to say that this ending and them ending up together after all of the, in all honesty, emotionally abusive ways that Harper treated Abby. She went on to say that I want what's best for all the characters in the movie. And I think the message is that you can mess up and that you can do the work and get better is really important. And be kind to yourself and have compassion, because I think compassion is in short supply. Now, this is what she's saying about Abby forgiving Harper and then getting back together. And I feel that she's completely overlooking the fact that Harper is abusive as fuck to Abby the entire time they're there. And yes, it is only 4 days. Yes, it's a 5-day trip in total. We get the 4 days, and there's Christmas Day, and they're supposed to be headed back to wherever they live. I don't remember. But in those days, Harper forces Abby back into the closet. She denies that she's her significant other. She ignores her when they're out, flirts with somebody else, gets angry that Abby actually finds somebody to talk to who just happens to be Riley, Harper's ex, who Harper, irony of ironies, outed when they were in high school. And then Harper also tells Abby that she needs space because Abby is being hovering because she comes in to check on Harper after she goes out drinking all night. And then we're supposed to be like, you know what? Yes, Harper, you deserve our forgiveness. Like, to say that you want what's best for your characters in the movie, but you're not. You're creating this story that we as the audience never get to see. We get mad and frustrated and angry and hurt and triggered by what Abby goes through. And then we see Harper like completely outed and nothing. There's no fucking resolution at all. Like, there is no resolution. All of a sudden, Victor, Harper's parents go and they sit in a room and they're like, oh, we don't really know our daughters. And then Victor Garber's character stays alone and then comes out Christmas morning and is like, oh, I love you girls. And he turns down money from this woman who was like, oh, well, your child would have to stay in the closet if you're going to run for mayor and want my money, which also, really? What fucking year do you think it is? It's 2020. Update your script. Anyway, sorry. And then they take family photos in front of the Christmas tree with Abby there. Then it cuts to 1 year later and Harper is wearing the engagement ring that Abby bought for her a year ago. And as the audience, we're just supposed to be like, oh my God, things got immediately better on Christmas Day. They got together. They worked through it. I'm so happy they're still together. Like, and no, I don't feel that. Like, I need to see the actual work that Harper did to earn Abby's trust again. And you don't see that and you don't believe it. And it feels tacked on and it feels fake. And honestly, like, the idea of suffering lesbians who bittersweetly end up at the end of the movie is not a new thing. It's been going on forever. Like, honestly, that's not new. New would have been a fluffy ass Hallmark-esque lesbian film where they're romping around in the snow and cutting and like decorating Christmas trees or selling Christmas ornaments. You know how those films work. And then nobody cares that they're lesbian. They just happen to be, because that would be an ideal fucking world anyway. And in the end, like, maybe they almost don't get together because one of them has to take a long distance job, but they make it work. That is what fluffy, happy, and lesbian shit is. Like, Kristen Stewart said that she loved this film and she went to this movie because I want people to see that two girls in love is just so fun. What fucking script did you read, Kristen? Because it's not this one. Okay? It was not the Happiest Season. Now, in contrast, because I was like, okay, one lesbian Christmas film sucked. I'm sure the other one will too. I also watched Netflix's New York Christmas Wedding. I've been describing this to people as a lesbian Catholic POC It's a Wonderful Life, but in Queens. And I feel like if you sit with that for a while, it all makes sense. So I actually really liked this film. It was really heavy on Catholicism and what does it mean to be a practicing and devout Catholic, but also be lesbian when you've been raised in the church, not only because like that's what your parents tell you what to do, but because you believe in it. There's a bit extra of that. But like overall, there was more happy lesbianism in this film written by a man than in the one by Duval, a 43, I believe, like lesbian woman, which is really upsetting. So in New York, Christmas Wedding was written by Otaja Abbott. He's the writer-director, and he ultimately also plays one of the characters. The film is about Jennifer Ortiz and Gabrielle Bernacchi. Basically, there are two girls who are really good friends. In high school, they have a fight. They stop talking. We catch up 20 years later with Jennifer, and she's engaged to David. David is the character who's played by the writer-director Abbott. So she goes out for a run because she's having a fight with her soon-to-be mother-in-law, and she runs into Azrael. Azrael is this angel, And he's like, don't worry, tomorrow everything will be different. She wakes up the next day and she's in a small ass apartment because she went to sleep in like her large ass Manhattan apartment, married to somebody who worked at a Fortune 500 company. She wakes up in her small ass Queens apartment. Shout out for Queens. Apartments are beautiful. And she's being woken up by her female fiance, her friend, Gabby. So she's like a little bit surprised, doesn't know what's going on. Ultimately, she gets to live out this side of her life, see what happens. They get married, et cetera, et cetera. And then Azrael shows up and is like, all right, this was just like a test run. This isn't actually your life, but maybe you can redo it. And I'm going to spoil it for you folks, because you know what? Jennifer's like, yeah, this is actually really happy. It was great. And honestly, watching she and Gabby together, I felt really happy watching two grown-ass women of color like be in a loving, healthy relationship with each other. Excuse me. No, I'm not Catholic. I'm not even Christian, but like their devotion to God and their devotion to each other were actually really separate. And I appreciated that the film didn't try and make religion the center point of their relationship. Rather, religion was a thing that they dealt with as a couple because they were both Catholic, but their love for each other was not dependent upon that in any way. And so you get all these wonderful moments of them just like hanging out and going on errands and hanging out with Jennifer's dad. And it's just really fucking cute and feel good. So when Jennifer decides that she wants to redo it and start over from that really bad fight that they had 20 years ago in high school and not break up the friendship with Gabby, you're like cheering for them. You're in such a good mood and you're like, yay. And then all of a sudden she's back and she's a high schooler and the fight doesn't happen. And then during the credits, they get together as high schoolers. Of course they do. And then during the credits, it rolls showing that their wedding and that they stayed together and they still got married in this second chance reality. The film is so fucking feel good that like, I was just really enjoyed it. I kept wishing that they had a larger budget because the low budget does show, and I watched a lot of low budget, so it's fine. But I appreciated the fact that like it was actually just about joy. Like even this film that was like trying to deal with like, yes, you can have faith can sometimes conflict with what you think is correct and how you express love. But the film was still ultimately about the joy of these two women being in love and being together and having the support of those around them and who cared for them. And you got more of that than you got in the Happiest Season at all. Like, honestly, if somebody was like, which lesbian Christmas film what should I watch? I would say watch A New York Christmas Wedding. Yes, the first 10 minutes you have to deal with that handheld, found footage, indie artsy effect, which I really can't stand. I don't think it makes anything artsy. But like, after you get past that, it actually stops. It's like somebody came along and was like, why are we doing this? No, just make a movie. And they stop that and we get nice, stable footage and a really, really lovely love story. Yeah, I don't really know what to say except the Happiest Season was a disappointment. It's not two girls in love having fun. It's not some Christmas romp. It's honestly just like sort of every other lesbian film where it's a struggle for the couple and then it's a bittersweet ending. And I think I find this one even more disturbing because the bittersweet ending is trying to be sold to us as happiness, but there's really nothing happy about two people getting together just because one of them is willing to put up with the other's bullshit and shit treatment of them. Like, it's really verging on the abusive. Versus A New York Christmas Wedding, which is two women, one who's also Black Latina, which I loved and was so Queens, and her Italian best friend going the French lovers route. high school sweethearts who end up getting married, and you see them being happy and kissing and cute together and like just so domestic and loving. And that's, in all honesty, what you want out of your lesbian Christmas films. Like, yeah, sure, blah, 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 Catholicism, blah, 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 angels. But like, even in the end, the priest marries them and was like, you know what? God says love is love. The Pope said we're welcoming everybody. So if we're welcoming everybody, we're doing it. Like, and then even the priest in a New York Christmas wedding is like, yeah, love is love. I'm marrying these lesbians on Christmas. And you get that happy ending, which once again would be great if that's how the real world was. But I don't go to romance Christmas films for reality. I go for escapism. So yeah, a New York Christmas wedding gave that to me. And a little bit of fluff, mostly fluff with like 0.1% of reality. And that's what I fucking want. So go watch A New York Christmas Wedding on Netflix. Let me know what you think about it. That's all the wonders I have to share with you today. If you want to continue talking about this, you can find me on Twitter at Tanagra, GGNOC. That's TANAGRA, Geek Girl Nerd of Color. For all you Android users, you can find us on Anchor and RadioPublic. And for all you iThings users, you can listen in on iTunes and Overcast. You can also listen to us on YouTube. We put up a pretty picture and you hear my wonderful voice. Leave us a message on some platform, suggest a movie, suggest a show. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for joining, make choices, and don't foul it up.